this whole attack on toxic masculinity and things like that. I look at what a lot of things have been coming out lately in the movies and television, where they constantly just make men kind of wimps, and they're making you women the superstars and superheroes, and I'm fine with that.
Hollywood is no stranger to controversy, but lately, the battle between woke culture and those who refuse to conform has taken center stage. Actors who dare to speak out risk everything: careers, reputations, and relationships. But some won't be silenced. From Kevin Sorbo standing up for traditional masculinity to Gina Carano taking on Disney after a bold political statement, these stars have demolished Hollywood's progressive agenda. The question is, are they fighting for free speech or resisting progress? Kevin Sorbo isn't just known for playing a hero on screen, he's become one off-screen too, standing firm against what he believes is Hollywood's growing agenda to undermine traditional masculinity. Many of us remember Sorbo as the powerful and charismatic Hercules from Hercules The Legendary Journeys, a character who embodied strength and courage. But these days, Sorbo is battling something far from mythical monsters. His focus is on a real-world cultural shift that he sees as damaging to the core values he holds dear. Oh, but before we continue with the video, make sure to like and subscribe. We currently have a lot of viewers who haven't subscribed to our channel, and while it is free for you subscribing to us will make a hell of a difference for us. We appreciate you very much. Okay, so for Kevin, the issue is clear. Hollywood has been steadily chipping away at the image of strong, responsible men. He's been very vocal about what he sees as an agenda to turn men into hapless, inept figures in entertainment. He often points out that sitcoms over the last few decades have gone from showing admirable male leads to depicting them as bumbling idiots, while women are portrayed as the only capable ones in the room. To Sorbo, this is part of a broader push to downplay traditional masculinity and diminish the important role men, especially fathers, play in society. What's fascinating about Sorbo is his refusal to bend to Hollywood's pressure. While many actors may have backed down after facing pushback, Sorbo has only doubled down. His outspokenness has cost him relationships with some of his former co-stars, like Lucy Lawless, who disagreed with his views. But rather than retreat, Sorbo found a new audience that appreciates his perspective: conservatives who value his commitment to traditional ideals. He's become a prominent voice in conservative circles where his views on masculinity, fatherhood, and values resonate deeply.
I mean, God opened another door for me, and the world I'm on now, I love it. I mean, certainly, as you know, in the TV world with our series, the pay rates are pretty darn good compared to what you get paid in independent movies.
Sorbo isn't one to shy away from speaking his mind, even if it means alienating himself from the Hollywood mainstream. He's made it clear that for him, these aren't just issues of personal belief but of cultural importance. For Kevin Sorbo, standing up for what he sees as the diminishing role of strong men in media and society is more than just a personal cause. It's about holding on to the values he believes have shaped healthy families and communities for generations. Gina Carano's rise and fall in Hollywood is one of those stories that still gets people talking. She became a fan favorite, playing the tough and fearless Cara Dune in The Mandalorian, quickly winning over Star Wars fans. But her journey took a sudden turn when she found herself on the receiving end of cancel culture. Carano, who was never shy about sharing her opinions, posted a comment on social media that compared to modern political persecution in the US to the treatment of Jews during the Holocaust. The backlash was swift and severe.
Well, she was fired because she had heterodox opinions on face masks and the 2020 election.
Disney and Lucasfilm didn't waste any time in cutting ties with her, publicly condemning her remarks and firing her from The Mandalorian, and it was a shocking moment, especially given that her co-star Pedro Pascal had made a similar comparison in the past without facing any consequences. The double standard was clear, and it highlighted just how harshly Hollywood treats anyone who steps outside the progressive narrative. For Carano, the message was obvious. As long as you follow the woke script, you're safe. Step outside that line, and you're gone.
I was like, if this isn't defamation or if this isn't discrimination, then I don't know what is. If this isn't wrongful doing of an employee, then I don't know what is.
But Gina Carano didn't crumble under the pressure. Instead of issuing a forced apology or trying to win back favor in Hollywood, she stood her ground. she didn't backtrack or beg for forgiveness. In fact, she took her career into her own hands, partnering with conservative media outlet The Daily Wire to produce her own film. It was her way of saying that cancel culture wouldn't have the final word on her career. As Carano herself put out, they can't cancel us if we don't let them. Her move to work with The Daily Wire was a bold one, especially since most people in Hollywood stay quiet when they find themselves in hot water. But Carano wasn't interested in staying quiet. She wanted to prove that there's life after cancel culture and that speaking out doesn't have to mean the end of your career. By aligning with a conservative outlet, Carano sent a clear message that she wasn't going to be silenced just because her views didn't fit the mainstream narrative. And now, from starring in blockbuster franchises like Guardians of the Galaxy and Jurassic World to being known as one of the genuinely nicest guys in Hollywood, it's hard to find someone with a bad word to say about him. But despite staying away from inflammatory political statements, Pratt has found himself in the crosshairs of woke critics for reasons that have very little to do with his work or his public persona.
Why? Why is he the worst Chris? Well, he is the worst Chris because he is not siding with Joe Biden. He's a bad man because he didn't do an Avengers table read for Biden.
One of the first things that triggered the outrage was the fact that Pratt didn't attend a Joe Biden fundraiser in 2020, which many of his Marvel co-stars supported. This alone was enough for some to assume he must be a conservative, and in today's Hollywood, that assumption can put a target on your back. Pratt was labeled the worst Chris in Hollywood in online debates, and suddenly, his lack of public political alignment was seen as a crime. The pile-on continued when he was spotted wearing a Don't Tread on Me t-shirt, an image with origins in the American Revolution, but which some have controversially linked to far-right movements.
Actor Chris Pratt wore a shirt with the flag. Yahoo, which is a sort of news organization, ran an article suggesting the shirt choice reflected, quote, white supremacy.
Through all this, Pratt has mostly remained silent, choosing not to engage in the public squabble surrounding his supposed political leanings. But that hasn't stopped the online attacks, with some even accusing him of being connected to white supremacy simply because of the shirt. And to top it off, when he posted a light-hearted message on social media encouraging fans to vote for his film in the People's Choice Awards, he was again criticized, this time for not pushing a progressive political agenda.
A real Christian who lives by principle has never demonstrated anything but positivity and gratitude, and he just married into a family that makes space for civil discourse and just plain facts, insists on service as the highest value. If you take issue with Chris, I've got a novel idea. Delete your social media accounts, sit with your own defects of character, work on them, and then celebrate your humanness. Chris Pratt, I got your back.
Yet, despite the backlash, Chris Pratt hasn't wavered. He continues to be himself, a proud Christian, a family man, and someone who seems more interested in living by his values than making statements. His silence in these matters doesn't mean he's backing down, it's more of a quiet resistance. And while he's been careful not to engage in the noise, some of his Hollywood friends haven't hesitated to defend him. Robert Downey Jr., for instance, praised Pratt as a man of strong values, calling him a real Christian who lives by principle. For years, Maher has used his platform to challenge not just conservatives but also the extreme left, calling out what he sees as the overreach of woke culture. And in today's climate, that makes him stand out. Maher's biggest gripe is with how far the left has drifted from reality. He's been vocal about issues like cancel culture, identity politics, and political correctness, particularly on college campuses. In his view, the woke crowd has gone so far that they have lost touch with the average American. Maher frequently argues that the extreme left's obsession with dividing people into categories based on race and gender is doing more harm than good. He's pointed out that most Americans don't fit into neat ideological boxes, and trying to force them to do so is alienating more people than it's helping.
For cancel culture, so that when the woke mob comes after you for some ridiculous offense, you'll stand your ground. Stop apologizing.
One of Maher's key battles has been against cancel culture. He's often said that liberals used to be the champions of free speech, but now they're the ones stifling it. Maher has called for a stand your ground approach to cancel culture, saying that people need to stop giving in to the mob. He's openly criticized the hypocrisy he sees in Hollywood, where it's acceptable to preach about progressive values, but not to question them.
You know, the majority of Americans are actually with the Democrats on the issues Raising minimum wage, sensible gun laws, path to citizenship, abortion rights, pro-environment, you name it.
Despite the backlash he's faced, Maher hasn't budged. He's continued to hammer home his points, even when it means taking hate from his own political side. And while this has made him a target for some, it's also solidified his place as one of Hollywood's most fearless voices. Maher's willingness to speak out, regardless of who it offends, has earned him respect from those who value free speech and critical thinking. So, what are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comments below.